everybody, welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and today we are here for a reading vlog. It's KuKi Mayhem time, so let's get started. Well, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I start a reading vlog. It is the 1st of May here in Australia, and so we have kicked off with reading sprints at 9 a.m. It's a little after that. We've done our introductions and all the things, and I'm now settling in to get some reading done. The first few books that I have audio with, but they are Kindle Unlimited books, which come with audio, so that's exciting. And so the first, I'm just going to work my way through the list. I was going to spin and then all the things, but you know, life got in the way and all the things. But I am going to be reading, let me just get away from the lamp. I am going to be reading Ellie Couzon's Wartime Wishes for the Land Girls. This is a World War II village at war, and we've had lots of little different things happen. This is also meeting the prompt for read a series that the next book in a series that you have not finished, and this is book 4. It's also an arc, so I'm ticking off all the things that I need to do. So I'm going to get stuck into this. So this is following the story of Lottie. Lottie lost her sister was killed during the war, and basically she's now struggling with her grief and her anger about that. And there is a German soldier that is hiding somewhere out in their village, and there's also a new vicar in town. And it looks like that he's going to be helping her through her grief and her anger and everything like that. So there generally is a subtle love story in it. There's usually something happening around the war as well, and it's all focused, this series has been focused on the women in the war in the village, because the land girls actually took over where the men left off to take care of growing vegetables and, you know, looking after farms and animal and all that sort of stuff, so they could supply the troops, because that's why they had rations and all that sort of stuff. So there was enough food to keep the army going and all the, you know, all the armed forces going and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of historical fiction in this around that sort of stuff, and it's just a fun, like, they're not fun, but they are at the same time. Like it's got some content in it that's quite, you know, oh, okay. But they're not heavy, if that makes sense. So I've been really enjoying it. In fact, the Russian book Baby was the first audiobook that I got off NetGalley. I didn't get the audiobook for this one. I only got the ebook for it. So basically I thought that it would be a good idea to keep trying to get them from NetGalley, and I've been lucky enough to get them all. I think the only one I didn't get was the second one, maybe. So yeah, so anyway, I got this off NetGalley. I'm looking forward to getting into it. I meant to read it back last year when I got it, but I have been behind on my arcs, so it's a great way to catch up. So if you don't know what KuKi Mayhem is, and this is the first time you've ever heard of anything, all the information is linked up down below. The Discord, the announcement video, the playlist, the KuKi train, sprint train, and all that sort of stuff you'll find down underneath this video, along with all the co-hosts that were playing along and everything that is happening with KuKi Mayhem. Basically, at the start of this vlog, we were doing 12-hour sprints, and then basically we are going to be sprinting 24/7 on various different channels. We've got over 20 co-hosts this year, and so it's going to be a big event, and there's lots of stuff going on. So go and check all that out. Come over to the Discord, hang out with us over there. All the things that are happening on the internet across all the channels will be listed up in there, so you won't end up missing anything. You can select to get receive a notification for host videos and the sprints. There's events where the sprints will go up, especially any big ones like buddy reads and all that sort of stuff. We've got game nights and all that sort of thing as well. So make sure that you come along. But I am starting off, I'm kicking off on the 1st, and it is Wartime Wishes for the Land Girls by Ellie Couzon. And just an FYI, Ellie Couzon is actually 2 authors. So if you are doing another readathon and you're looking for historical fiction, maybe a quick read as well of Kindle Unlimited with 2 authors, Ellie Couzon has got you covered. So, and there's 4 books in this series. All right, I'm going to head off, get stuck into it. I can't wait to read it. I'm looking forward to going back to this village because I feel like I know all the characters now, which is really good. I haven't been able to really talk about them because, you know, it's a series and I'm going to end up spoiling it. But I'll probably, once I'm finished the series, I'm not too sure if there's any more books coming out. So I'll have a check of that. But we're at Christmas time. So, yeah, I am looking forward to it. All right. But I will check in a little while once I've got about, about 30% into the book and let you know how it's flowing and all that sort of stuff. But I know I've enjoyed the other one, so I know I'm going to enjoy this one. I'll see you soon. Everybody, and welcome back. I'm going to do my wrap up for this book that I'm reading, which is Wartime Witches for the Land Girls by Ellie Curzon. And this one is a book 4 in a series, as I said a little bit earlier. And I've been lucky enough to get all of these but one. I had to go and double check but one. So the second one I didn't get on NetGalley because I don't think I was really active on NetGalley when that one particular one came out. But I have read them all on Kindle Unlimited because they're all available here on Kindle Unlimited, and they are absolutely fabulous. They are a heartwarming story, wartime story. They're set around Bramble Heath, which is a small village that have land girls that are there. They've got other like pilots, they've got Polish immigrants and all that sort of stuff, which I've really been on a bit of a kick for World War II stuff lately. I've just recently read a non-fiction book about Agent Zoe, which I talked about with my Patreons. And yeah, so it was a really good book as well. So I have been gravitating more and more towards World War II, and especially women in World War II. So, and just what they did and all that sort of stuff. And this series really does highlight that because it is a village at war. We have the land girls, we have women taking masculine roles, traditional masculine roles for the time, and just how they rise above it. And I always have a really good time with these. Now, they're not overly complicated. You're not getting bogged down with a lot of history, but their authors are drawing on aspects of history, such as the Polish immigrants in England, the air raids from the German soldiers, and it also touches on some, tender moments between people that are falling in love by being surrounded by war and all that sort of stuff. It covers loss, it covers grief, it covers all that sort of stuff. That's the series overall. And but this particular book is about Lottie and Matthew. So Lottie we met in book 3. We didn't have a lot to do with Lottie, but we met her when her sister, which is a bit of a spoiler, her sister was killed in an air raid. And so we're in England, 1943. I just got the dates up here because there's a lot. And I believe this may be the last one, just how it ended, but I'm hoping it's not. And I did put that in my review. So, and I also got this, as I said, off NetGalley. It's supposed to be reviewed last September, but life got in the way. And we're a couple of days out from Christmas. There is another air raid, and a German plane is shot down over their village, and subsequently they find Matthew, who is the vicar, is new to town because the other vicar had left or retired. I can't remember now, but yeah, and so Matthew is a young man that was in the army, that was hurt while on home soil, and basically he has now moved to Bramble Heath to take over the vicarage, and he's there with his niece Daisy. She is adorable. I don't know, she didn't have a lot to do with, she has a little bit to do with the story, but she wasn't the main character. But she's just so adorable, her outlook on life and all of that sort of stuff. It was just really good, considering the tragedy that surrounds her. And, we've got animals in this and all that sort of stuff, but Lottie is a land girl, and she's really struggling, and she sort of comes to blows with Matthew, because Matthew was saying that, we need to treat these German soldiers with respect, we need to lay them to rest, we need to find the one that has survived, and we need to, treat them with respect, so in hope that that the Nazis treat their men with respect and all that sort of stuff as well. So he's trying the power of forgiveness and all that sort of stuff, and she's still really angry about the loss of her sister. So they're butting heads a little bit, but never fear, they start to grow, they start to heal each other and all that sort of stuff as the story goes on. But there's a lot of looking at people that are sensationalists, or that were in England at the time, and I guess that there was, I don't know enough about English history around the World War II and all that sort of stuff, or like what was happening on home soil and stuff like that, but it made me think about things that are happening today with politicians and all that sort of stuff being sensationalist, and also, you know, whipping the people up into a frenzy, and it did actually have a look at the comparison of this particular person that was doing this, and how Lottie was starting to understand, because she was all for it at the beginning and all that sort of stuff, and then slowly but surely she was coming to the realization that this person, while they seem good on the surface and they're doing great things for the wartime effort and all that sort of stuff, but really they have a bit of a sinister side to them. And so you start to see through Lottie's thinking and thought patterns the comparisons that she's making between Hitler and this particular person, and she's like, where have I seen this before? And, you know, looking at news rules and all that sort of stuff. So these aren't spoilers, these are just general things that are happening throughout the book. There is a whole lot more and that goes on, and I've given this a solid 4 stars. I really enjoyed being with the Land Girls because of their camaraderie. These are women that have been taken from the cities. These are young girls that have been removed from their families because you know, they got the kids out into the country because things were happening in London and stuff like that, and just the camaraderie of them coming together, them feeling, you know, very patriotic. We have to do this for the war and all that sort of stuff. And if you don't know what Land Girls are a part of the World War II history, where the young girls and women of the city and other places, and also the small villages, took on the roles of the farmers who went away to war. So not everybody went away to war, but they were also there to help some of the older gentlemen that, you know, had fought in the First World War and stuff like that. And then the ones that were too young, they also helped as well, but there wasn't enough men to look after the farms and grow the food to keep the country going and also the troops going. So that's what the Land Girls were. And a lot of time they were women that came from the city and didn't know anything about anything when it came to farming. And so they were learning on their feet and stuff. So it is quite an interesting little tidbit from history of how everything was kept running. And if you've been reading any of that, you already know all that sort of stuff. It's just for people that probably don't. I really enjoyed getting to know Lottie a little bit better. She was always just a little bit of a side character. She was a land girl. She was on the Gosling farm and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, and the story around the airmen as well, that was very interesting how the author played that. So 4 stars for me. I absolutely enjoyed it. I didn't do a check-in, I just fell into it. We were having a great time on Sprints yesterday. I've got half an hour at the time of filming this before jumping on for my second stint at Sprints. It started with a bang, and I hope that you have all been enjoying it. There's still a lot more to come, but I am moving on to another book. I'm not entirely sure. I started reading a book last night called Order of the Scorpion, so I'm not too sure whether I'm in the mood for that. I do, however, have to read my Outlander pages, so I'm moving on to book 2 in Outlander because the Seriously Serious book club is still running for the month of May. So on Mondays and Fridays I have to read the pages. Coda's a little bit behind, so I'm just sticking with it, and which is fine. That happens. Life gets in the way at times and all that sort of stuff. I may end up behind this month as well, but I thought I'm up to date, so I'll just keep going with it. And then that way we're not getting behind, because they're chunky books. I think that comes in at 900 and something pages. And yeah, and the wind has picked up today, and it's a bit chilly. And of course I'm all blocked up and everything from the wind and the dust and everything. I don't have allergies, but it's quite, the dust has been stirred up and all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, huh, I walked outside, big mistake. So anyway, I'm going to get on with it. As I said, we've got Seriously Serious book club today, so I will talk a little bit about Outlander. I think it is called Dragonfly in Amber. So I have that book sitting over here. I got a second-hand copy of it a few months ago, or probably about 12 months ago. So that is one I'm going to be starting. As I said, I did start Order of Scorpion last night. I haven't read enough to really talk about it at this point, but I'll do a check-in for that when I'm actually getting into it. But I'm going to read the pages for this. I think I've got about 150 pages to read, so not too much, just about that much today. And I do have this on audio, but I'm immersively reading it this time, so I will be sitting down with my morning coffee and I will be reading it. Anyway, I'm going to get on with my day, and I'll check in when I have decided what the second book is I'm going to read. for the KuKi Mayhem. All right, so I'm doing a check-in for Order of Scorpions, and I'm actually doing a check-in and wrap-up because this book was so good. This is the first time that I've read Ivy Asher, and I can honestly say that this author, I think, has just become a new favourite author. I do have a book. This is the naked hardcover that I have for this book, and when you open it up, it is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, I do have this on my Kindle Unlimited, and I put it on there in 2025, I think around the middle of the year, but this is the naked hardback of the book, and this is one that I got from the Fabled, and it's also got a signature plate, but this is the one that I got from the Fable Knights book club, book box, sorry, that I used to get. And yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about this book. We're following the story of Orsett. Orsett wakes up in a cage, and she doesn't know who she is, where she's from, or anything about her past. She is a fae, and basically she is in an iron cage, and we learn that pretty quickly that she's a fae, and she's been kidnapped by some orcs and another fae. That runs the Lader, I think it's called, where they train fae to be servants and all sorts of stuff, right? So yeah, so basically, and she wakes up there, but when she's taken to, I forget his name because he's only in it for a brief moment. When she's taken to the room, he's got her chained up, and basically the orcs deliver her to this guy, and he ends up killing the orcs. And this all happens in the first chapter, basically. And so that's set the premise of the story, and she's still all tied up when these ghostly looking people, fae, turn up, and all you can see is like an exoskeleton of them, and they are the Scorpions. She doesn't know that at the time, but we learn that a little bit later. So they ended up doing away with him, and they left her behind, and then it fast forwards 6 years. And then she's been training in the Lader since then because, you know, people came into the room and she was there, and she has been beaten, tortured, and all the things to make her comply, and all these things are happening to her, and she still doesn't know who she is. 6 years later on, she doesn't know who she is, where she's from, who her people are, or anything like that. And she is up for a event that they have called The Bidding, and that's when the Scorpions come in. She recognizes them, but they don't recognize her because they only see her for a brief moment. And this is where the story really starts to pick up. So I absolutely adored this book. It was very much slow burn. It was very much had all the fae courts. It had assassins, warriors, whatever you want to call them, and basically we had this mystery around Orsett. Now Orsett is the main female character, and then we have the Order of the Scorpions, and there's only 3 in this order. And I'd have to say that I think you pronounce his name Royale. Was my favorite out of the 3. And just the way the tension was between the characters and everything, very slow burn, very slow burn. And I'm there for it. And so I just absolutely loved it. So much so that I started it on Friday night, late Friday night, read 10%, stayed up way too late, and then just fell into the story over the weekend and finished it up last night. So I highly recommend anybody that loves, you know, warriors, fated mates, slow burn, lots of tension and angst between the characters, which was absolutely top notch in my opinion. I think it's just what I needed at the time. Like this was the book that I just needed. And I was saying earlier on Sprints that if I had read this directly after the Women's Prize for Fiction, I think it would have been a really good palate cleanser. And I'm sort of spewing that I didn't pick it up, but I'm also glad that I saved it for KuKi Mayhem as well. So it's the second book that I've got. It took me, let's say 3 days, well, 2 and a bit days, because I finished it on May the 4th, and now I'm going to pick up Fourth Girl. Jean and Christina and I are reading this. We've got an Instagram buddy read going on at the moment, and so yeah, so by the time you see this video, we've probably finished that book, because that's the next book that I'm going to go into. So you're probably wondering what I rated this. I actually rated it 4 stars. That was my initial thought when I closed the book. This is definitely a 4-star, but on thinking about it and thinking about all the things that happen in it, I'm actually going to bump that up to a 5-star because I really, really enjoyed it. And so I think that is probably where I'm sitting, because the more I've thought about it, I couldn't put it down. It had all my favorite elements in it. I love, anything with Fae in it. I love anything that's got a bit of a mystery. I love a slow burn. So and I love assassins or warriors, or whatever you want to call them. So I really liked that, and I liked how it all wrapped up as well. So when I closed it, I went, yeah, no, that was a 4-star book. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, no, this is definitely a 5-star book in my opinion, because it was hitting all the spots, because I had time to process what I had read, because I read it so fast as well, like over a 2-day period. I didn't absorb it as much as I absorbed everything that was going on. I was just devouring it, but I didn't sit in the book for as long as I normally would with a book that size, which was coming in at 761 pages. So it's quite a chunky book. And as I said, it took me 2 and a bit days to read it, but I have had the best weekend reading that book. So 5 stars from me. Initially it was 4, but I've actually bumped it up. And now I'm really excited to go and read more from this author. And I was perusing Kindle Unlimited last night, and I'm like, that June is going to be a fabulous month for me, because I am already making a list of stuff that I want to put back onto my KU. So I'm looking forward to getting those books done. I'm still reading Outlander. So I'll do a little bit of an update of that. I started that on Friday, which was May the 2nd. I read about 60 pages. So I have read this book before, but this time I'm actually immersively reading it. So I got a little bit behind because I fell into Order of the Scorpions. So I've got to catch up on that, and I'm going to do that tonight, which it's now May 5th. So I'm 60 pages in, and we're just setting up for the story, I guess. I guess she's going to go back in time. I can't really remember what happens in this book. I know that she, I can't really talk about it without giving spoilers, but I am just, we've gone back to, we're back in Scotland, and she had gone to America, and we're back in the present time. So, present time for the book, which is 1960. 8, something like that. So we're in the 60s at the moment, and Claire's back there, and now she's trying to find out what's gone on and all that sort of stuff. So if you haven't read it before, I will be doing little updates throughout the thing. I don't actually do individual videos for this because I spread it out over a month, so it'll either end up in my monthly wrap up, but because it is a series and there are a few people reading it, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So I just thought, you know what, I will just go, this is where I'm at. So I'm at page 63 at the moment, and I'm hoping to get up to where the breakdown is, which I think it's 245 or something like that. So I've got a fair chunk of stuff to read. It's a cold day here on the 5th of May. So I thought, you know what, tonight I can curl up with my book, and that's how I'm going to end my day. But we will see. We shall see. All right, I'm going to head off now and start Fourth Girl. I will do a check-in. Jean's already up to chapter 10 at this point, so I am going to try to get to chapter 10 today during sprints and all the things. All right, I will see you in the next check-in. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Fourth Girl. I'm about to start this, as I just previously said. It is by Wendy Corsi Staub, I think is how you pronounce it. This is a thriller, I believe, mystery thriller, suspense. That's what it's sort of coming under, and crime as well. I'm just on Goodreads at the moment. So, on the anniversary of a teen's disappearance, 3 friends face a deadly hometown reunion in a twisty suspense novel. And this is basically, it is a then and now sort of timeline from what I can gather. So on prom night, Carolyn Winterfield walked away from the ruins of an abandoned mansion called the Haven Cliff into the woods, and she was never seen again. Only her best friends know what really happened, but a secret is a secret, and a promise is a promise, even when it shatters lifelong friendships. On the 25th anniversary of the night that Midge, Kelly and Talia reunite at Haven Cliff, now a gleaming architectural jewel, but they are not alone. Someone is watching, someone who knows what really happened to Caroline, and to the man who now lies dead a stone throw away from where she was last seen. Police detective Midge knows she's dealing with a murder the moment that she sees an item clutched in the lifeless hand. Only 3 other people in the world grasp the significance, and that means Kelly and Talia are either involved or in danger because Caroline's long gone. So it's basically, yeah, it's just going to be, I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a whodunit, secluded type thing as well. So that's my general thoughts of it. This was published in March of this year in 2025. Now this one, this one's a Kindle book, a Kindle Unlimited book, and this one some of my friends got during the Amazon free reads. I got it on Kindle Unlimited, so it is available on there. So I am looking forward to getting into this. I will check in when I get to where Jean is up to, and I believe Christina is also starting to read it as well, but I'm not entirely sure where Christina is up to yet. All right, I'm going to head off and get started, and I will check in when I get to chapter 10. It is May 5th, and today I am starting several books today. So I'm reading The Fourth Girl with Jean, as you would have just heard in that check-in. And what it was about and all the things. So I'm doing that one. But the one that I was also going to be starting was The Mask of Duplicity. Now, I started reading that a little bit and I'm not too sure about it. So I'm just going to soft DNF it for a while and I'm going on to something else. So you'll get to hear more about that when it comes on. Like when I actually read it. And I may end up just DNFing it. And the reason that I'm thinking of DNFing it is because it's very close to... it's the same sort of storyline as Outlander, so I may end up DNFing it and swapping it out for something. So we'll have to wait and see. I'll probably do that closer to the end of the month, but right now I'm just going to soft DNF it. I think I read less. I have that on audio, and I listened to that. I think I got up to chapter 4 and it is very much similar like vein. So I don't, and because I'm reading Outlander this month, I don't want to get confused. So what I've done is put that one down and decided that I'm going to read Always You and Me by Danny Atkins. This one is coming in at 397 pages. It was first published in 2025. I got this on Kindle Unlimited, and this is an emotionally charged, character-driven stories and rekindled relationships and second chances, wrapped in a poignant and hopeful narrative. So I believe, let me just bring it up. It's coming in at 4.1 in the reviews on Storygraph. I'm using this for a bingo prompt as well. So I've been using some of the books that I've got for bingo prompts. So it says here, tracking Josh down isn't easy, but fate seems determined to bring the two of them together. Cut off in his remote Scottish cabin by a fierce snowstorm, Lily and Josh explore their tangled feelings for each other, stretching back over decades. But when she discovers the shocking reason behind Adam's unexpected last wish, she'll need to trust her heart completely. Lily and Adam are blissfully happy until he falls ill. As she cares for him in his final hours, Adams asks her to make a mysterious promise to find Josh and forgive them both. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And so I will talk a little bit about it. So this one is, at the speed I listen to, coming in at just over 5 hours. And so I'm going to be listening to this while doing some work today out in the studio because I didn't do it on the weekend. So I need to catch up. So yeah, but I'm going to head off and do that. It sounds really good. It's coming in at pretty high ratings. So average rating is 4 stars. So I'm happy about that. So yeah, I will check in once I've done a little bit more. Now I will just do a little bit of a check-in right now for The Fourth Girl. So I have read the first 10 chapters of this and I'm now at the top of chapter 11. There is the disappearance, as you heard. And yeah, and it's all very mysterious at the moment. And yeah, one of the girls actually ended up buying the house where their friend went missing. So that is a little bit weird. Also, as it said in the synopsis there, Midge is a police officer now, and we've got the then and now timeline happening, and so we're just getting to sort of really know the characters. So Gordy, is in it, which is Caroline's boyfriend. Caroline has disappeared, and no one knows where she's gone. And then we've got Talia, and Midge, who are the main characters that know Caroline and know what actually happened. So, and there is a mysterious rumors that go around about the place that they're at, and that a little bit of a spoiler, that it was built on an ancient burial ground. So maybe might be getting some supernatural stuff coming into it. I don't know, but that is the rumor. And there's been Caroline's family also have had a lot of stuff happen to them as well. So it's quite interesting. I'm just going to leave it at that, happened to them. You can draw your own conclusions. But I'm liking the vibe so far. I'm liking how the writing style is really good. It's very fast paced. Like, we're not getting bogged down in each timeline. We're just moving through them pretty quickly. With the present timeline, we're getting to know the characters, who they are now, as well as them as a group back when. So I'm looking forward to reading a bit more, but as I said, I have read today's pages. I'm not too sure if we're going to continue on today or not, but I'm going to get stuck into Always You and Me for now, and I will check in. This is not going to take too long, so I'm probably just going to get stuck into it, and I may just come back with a wrap up and my general thoughts of it. All right, I'm going to head out. I'll see you soon. And welcome back. All right, it's been a couple of days since I did a check-in, and I have finished a couple of books, but the first book that I'm going to talk about, I'm in the diamond painting room again, a little bit of diamond painting. You can see things are starting to get up on my shelf and all the things, it's starting to come together, so I'm really happy about that. I'm going to try and make it very quick because I do have someone here that is putting up some sheds for me, so it might get a little bit noisy. So if it jumps and changes and we end up in different locations, that's, you know why. All right, so I am working on a Black Cat by Candlelight this month while I'm listening to books and all the things. I have not worked on it up until now because I think I worked on it last Thursday. No, I didn't. We had sprints last Thursday, so I haven't worked on it. This is the first time in a week that I've worked on it. So I'm really happy that I've got some drills down. I'm almost finished another section, about to move on to another one, but I wanted to check in because I have finished a couple of books. So as you heard in the last clip, I was reading Always You and Me by Danny Atkins, and this book, it almost broke me. It almost broke. Came close. It was getting me to feel the feels and all the things. And I love doing KuKi Mayhem because of the simple fact is that I get to find new authors to me. So a couple of authors that I have found through doing this challenge with myself way back when was Colleen Hoover. I came across her because at that stage I wasn't watching BookTube, or was I? Yeah, I was watching BookTube, but not booktubers that were reading, you know, recent releases or anything like that. So Colleen Hoover was one that I come across. I haven't read anything from Colleen Hoover in quite some time, but I read most of her books on KU when they were available. I also come across Yasmin Ango, who wrote a thriller which has been picked up. It's been optioned for a TV series, I believe, or maybe a movie. I can't remember now, but I did see that somewhere around the traps. And also, like Barbara Davis and Rochelle B. Weinstein are a couple of others that I have found as well that I really enjoy. And Fiona Falpy is another favourite of mine as well. They're books that I don't necessarily need to have on my shelf. They're, you know, I hate this term, but, you know, women's fiction. I hate that term because anybody can bloody read them and enjoy them, but yeah, that's a term that gets thrown around a lot. They're great traveling books too, because you don't have to think too hard. The story is not too in-depth. There's plot and all that and the character development and everything, but they're not hectic, you know. They're not an epic fantasy. They're not a lit fic where you've got to concentrate on what you're reading or something along those lines. So, and Danny Atkins is falling into that category. I really enjoyed reading Always You and Me, and as you heard in the synopsis, she made a promise to her husband on his deathbed to find her best friend Josh, who she's known since she was 15 years old. So essentially this is their story, because we lose Adam very early in the book, like within the first chapter. I think it was even in the prologue, if I remember correctly, when he was asking her to make this promise, and she has to find a way to forgive them both, which he gave her that cryptic clue, and she has no idea what this is about or anything like that. So she loses her husband Adam, and then a year later we check in with her. So we don't experience the loss, like we experience a bit of the loss, but we don't experience the funeral or anything that surrounded that. We're checking in a year later on the anniversary of his death, and the fact that, you know, she's gone through all this grief and she's struggling with the one thing she hasn't done yet, and that is check in with Josh. She has no idea how to find find him. So she's at her parents' place on the eve of the anniversary, and she's asking some questions about the old next door neighbours, because Josh was a next door neighbour of hers, and they used to climb the sycamore tree, and she was devastated when she got there. The sycamore tree had been blown down in a storm, and she had no idea, and it was a place where she used to go and meet Josh, and they were really good friends, and he was a foster kid that came to live there with the old neighbours. Subsequently, they moved away and they lost touch, but they had connected and reconnected over time. Whenever Josh was in town, he would look her up and all that sort of stuff. But it was about 5 years after he left that they actually reconnected for the first time, and she was 20 in college, and he was also in college. And he turned out to be a blind date for her friend that she was hanging out with, which was quite funny. And they seen each other across the room and just like, yeah, they ended up leaving together. But they never connected on an intimate level. They kissed a couple of times and stuff like that. And she always had that soft spot for him. She loved him and all that sort of stuff. And he was like the first person that broke her heart back when she was 15 when he moved away. But at the same time, she never told him any of this stuff either. So it was quite interesting how it played out. And then, so subsequently, over the years, they met each other, they went different ways and all that sort of stuff. And then on the eve of their wedding, he turned up and said, you know, it's always you, I've always loved you, and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, and so something happened that made him change his mind, and then they had a big row, and subsequently they have not talked since then. So Lily, being on a little bit of a mission to go and find Josh, she started asking questions of her parents. Her parents sort of gave her a direction where to go. She found out that Josh's foster mother had passed away the couple of years beforehand, or a year beforehand maybe, not long after. It was a little while. Around the time when she was busy with her husband being ill and whatnot, and then she managed to track down his dad. Unfortunately, his dad had dementia, and on the way out, she was playing like, oh, can you give this letter to them, you know, rah rah rah, and all this sort of stuff to get in contact. Well, she ran into the sister. Well, she started putting two together, and she ended up tracking down Josh, and he lives in the Scotland Highlands, and she basically, it was a forced proximity, because she got trapped there from the storm. There was no mobile service, there was no power, and she also got stuck there because her car was in a ditch, essentially. And so they were both forced in together to resolve their problems. Now, if you hear banging, that's because I've got someone here working, so I do apologize. So yeah, but it was just a beautiful story. It was definitely about second chances, about, you know, trust and all that sort of stuff, and, you know, someone doing them dirty and all that sort of stuff. And the bit, you know, there was one bit in there, and I'm just like, oh my god, no wonder he wanted to put it right, and whatnot. So it was a lovely story. If you're just looking for, there was no like real spicy, there was no spicy scenes or anything. It was just a genuine lovely story, and I really enjoyed it. And I guess it was just what I needed at the time, because I've actually given it 4 stars. And I just loved how and also the epilogue as well. Like, we don't have an epilogue where it's, you know, 2 years later. This is like years and years into their future, and that we get a little bit of closure and all the rest of it. And I thought it was really nicely done, and I thought it was really nicely done how we did how the author did them reconnecting and working out and hashing out their differences that they've had over the years, and, you know, actually having some really good communication with one another, and, you know, and all of his like, it also addressed his hang-ups as well, like what he had throughout life and why he made some of the choices that he made. So it was really well done, in my opinion. If you want something that's a quick, easy read, I suggest that you go grab it, because it's on Kindle Unlimited. It's a great travel book, so if you're on a plane and you don't want to concentrate too much, it's a great story to fall into. But just be warned, you will need tissues, because I got to the end of that book and I'm like, oh, it made me feel all the things. It didn't make me ugly cry, but it did make me feel all the things and well up a little bit. So I will say that. So Danny Atkins has quite a number of books. I think I counted 4 or 5 books that I've seen just at the end screen on my Kindle. So I'm going to investigate a little bit more of their back catalogue and see what else they've got to offer, and keep an eye out for them on NetGalley, because I really enjoyed their reading. All right, so that is my wrap up for for Always You and Me. Now I am going to be talking about Piranesi next. Now I went into Piranesi blind, so we're sort of just going to do the wrap up for it because I didn't do a check-in or anything like that. I knew I was having the buddy read with Jessica Kiwi and Saluna. Saluna hasn't been feeling well, so she was a little bit late to the party, but we had other people come on and a few other people join us. Paula from Family and Books, who is another co-host, joined us as well. We also had Livia from Livia's Crafts and Books join us as well, and they are in Italy, so we had someone from the UK, someone in Italy. We also had another person from New Zealand, Jojo, join us as well. There was quite a number of other people that joined us, and of course Saluna, myself, and Jessica Kiwi were reading it, and we were reading it and discussing it at the same time. Oh, and Anna as well. We convinced Anna from Book Dreamers Alley. Oh my goodness, Anna, I'm so sorry. I've just messed up your channel name. Anyway, I'll put it along the bottom here. I'm so sorry for that. Oh, so many channels to remember this KuKi season. So yeah, so anyway, we convinced a couple of people to read it with us, which was absolutely fantastic. So this is a literary fiction. It was the winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. I'm not going to worry about giving you the synopsis. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this book. But this book is something that you can't talk about in depth because you'll end up giving away spoilers. So yeah, there's that. So we meet Piranesi, who is the main character. There is another character in this house called the Other, and so slowly but surely we start to unravel where Piranesi is and why he's there. But the first half of the book keeps you guessing. I was quite surprised how it ended and everything like that, but I had come in and basically was saying, I think it's this, that, or the other. And if you want to see, you can go and check out the sprints and all that sort of stuff. Got a little bit unhinged towards the end, but because we were all getting tired and all that. And Saluna did end up joining us a little bit later on in the day. But yeah, so in the first half of the book, I can see why, because over the years, people have said to me, have you read Piranesi? No, I haven't. You should read it. Yes, I know. All the things. And now I'm starting to do like the backtracking in the Women's Prize for Fiction because I haven't always read the entire list or the top 6 or anything like that. I've only really been doing that in the most recent years. So this is sort of one that I think that I could, start with. And I've had that on my Kindle for a while. I think I've had it there close to 18 months, maybe 2 years on my Kindle, maybe even a bit longer. I don't know. But everybody that I've ever come across, when they hear that I've read the Women's Prize for Fiction, they're like, have you read Piranesi? No, I haven't. And it was the winner for 2021. So here I am reading it away. Now, I have been told time and time again that it can be a little bit confusing, trust the process, all the things. And I agree with all that. The first part of the book can be a little bit confusing. It also can make it feel like that you're scrambling to find out what's going on. And I truly believe with this book, you need to just go into this book and not knowing anything about it and just trust the process. Trust the author is going to take you on a journey. Now, a lot of people have been put off by, Mr. Strange and Dr. Norrell or something along those lines. It's got Strange and Norrell in the title by the same author. And a lot of people were put off by that because it's quite a chunky book. This one is only coming in at around 246 pages, depending what edition you have. There are blue covers and there is a dark cover as well. I think the US cover is a dark one, whereas the UK and the Australian one and the one I got on my Kindle has a blue cover. So there are some differences, but the text is not different. So we start the book out where we're learning about Piranesi and where he's at, and he's talking about this house being the world, and all these corridors and vestibules and birds, and there's all this just beautiful poetic writing throughout this. And as he's explaining who the people are, he says there's been 15 of them. And so I'm like, okay, so there's 15. He's number 15, and then he goes, you are number 16, and it makes it feel like it's you, the reader, and that's how I felt. So, it was very interesting that the author did that because that instantly pulled you into the story, and I like it. It is sort of like you're in getting his view of the world. So you're sort of in his head, but at no time did I feel like I was in his head. I felt like I was walking beside him and he was giving me a guided tour of where he lives. That's how I feel. So if you don't like that stream of consciousness, or, you know, you're in the person's head or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't in their head for this one. And I was walking beside, and he was giving me the grand tour of his home. And so there's all these little things that happen all the way through the book. And, you know, it was fun because we were doing all the theories and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like I was pretty close when I came in the first time and said what I thought it was, which I'm not going to say here because I feel like that would be a bit of a spoiler. I feel like I was pretty close, and I did just fall into the story, and I did just trust the process. And I listened to this on Audible as well, because everybody said that the audiobook was really good, and it happened to be on special a couple of months ago, and I grabbed it. So I had both that, and I immersively read it. So I basically sat down with the book and read through that in every sprint. So nothing got done yesterday because I was immersively reading. So yeah, there's that. But I had a great time. Like, it's definitely a book that you probably should read with someone else. Like, because I think that there are a lot of people get put off by literary fiction. And this was a literary fiction fantasy feel to it. And so I really enjoyed it for that aspect. And also, I think what made it even a better read for me was the fact that we got to experience it together. So we had Paula reading it with us when we first started. We had Anna reading it with us, and then we had Jojo in the comments, and I think Sadia was also in the comments reading it as well. And then I had myself and Jessica Kiwi, and then Saluna joined in, and it was quite fun bouncing all the ideas and all that sort of stuff, and getting a grasp of where our mind was going with it, because it was so wonderfully weird, and you know, like, you didn't really know what was going on. And then all the little bits and pieces started to drop together, and it was just so well done. So you're probably wondering, and I'm not going to really talk about any more than that. And when you get to the halfway point, that's when it takes a turn, and you get the sense of place, and you know where you are in the story and all the rest of it. But prior to that, you don't really know. And it's not going to be for everybody. It is literary fiction, most definitely, but it was very well done and very poetic, very lovely. Like, it was written in such a lovely way that you didn't want to put the book down, and not at any stage did I want to put the book down yesterday. So you might be wondering what I've given it. I have given it a 4.5 star rating. Yes, it does sound like a 5-star rating. There was just a couple of spots that which I can't really talk about. Oh no, there was just a couple of spots where it sort of lost me a little bit, that I felt like it was starting to get a little bit not repetitive's not the same, like what I'm thinking, like, it's not the right word. I think it just felt like that. I guess repetitive might be the word, because I felt like that we had already done this and we didn't need to do it. It was just, and I think it was more of a pet peeve of my thing than the actual book. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will, because I think that maybe that could have just been a me thing, that I was just feeling, you know, come on, let's get this done already. And it wasn't because I was bored or anything. I wanted to know if I was incorrect in what I was thinking. And I was correct to a certain degree. Once I got to the center of it, I sort of cottoned on what was happening, but that did not deter me from finishing the book. It didn't spoil it in any way, and all that sort of stuff. I feel like the ending was good. I liked how it ended, but I do feel like the author might have had a little bit more to say, and just pulled themselves up, because I feel like there could have been a little bit more at the end, especially with the point that we got to, and all that sort of stuff. In some ways, I sort of felt like it was maybe a little bit rushed, although it doesn't give that rush feeling. But I feel like while I was reading it, I'm like, I could have had more of this book. And as I said, I don't know if that's a me thing or it's a book thing. So you'll have to pick it up and decide for yourself. But it is a 4.5 star read. It is still Jessica Kiwi's favourite book, and because it was her favourite book last year. And it was just really well done. Like, It was really well done. And I can see why people might find it confusing and all that sort of stuff. But believe me, when you go into this book, as confusing as it may be, just let the story flow through you and walk with Piranesi and see what is going on. And I should probably say that it's nothing to do with Greek mythology. So if you think it's a Greek mythology book, think again. It's not. Okay, so just be aware of that. So that is it for this first week, because we're at day 7. So that is it for the first week of KuKi. I am still reading, because today is the 7th. I don't think I'm going to get another book done today because it is already 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to wrap this vlog up for this week. And so that is the intro and the beginning of KuKi. The first week is down. As I said, I am still reading a buddy read with Coda, which is The Good House. I started listening to a couple of chapters of that. I didn't like it through Speechify, and I was reading it with my eyeballs at the same time because it's my favorite way to read. And so I didn't like the Speechify vibe I was getting from it. It was fine, but I'm like, no, because I went and listened to the sample of it and I couldn't find a voice that sort of matched the sample, because I needed a voice that could also speak French as well, because there's some French in The Good House. And The Good House is by Tanarive Due. I have procured a audiobook for that. I had to pay full price for it out of the United States, but I have it now. So I'm going to pick that up over the weekend, probably, if not Friday. So that will be in next week's vlog. And I'm also at chapter 23 in The Fourth Girl, and nothing's really developed any further. We're still getting to know the characters. The chapters are super short, but there is a cast, so that's why we're at chapter 23, and we're still sort of meeting people. Although we're meeting people, not really meeting people, that's the wrong choice of phrase. I would say that we are now elaborating on the people that we met and how they're all connected and all that sort of stuff, and so that's where we're at. That only puts me at, like, I think 22% or something like that, so I'm not very far into the book. Because the chapters are really short and really, really easy to go through. So you will hear more about that book next week. If you haven't already done so, make sure you go and check me out on Blue Sky, Storygraph, Goodreads, Instagram, all the places. They are linked up all down below. Go and check me out there. That's where I am posting things. And all the things. I'm doing reviews on both Goodreads, Storygraph, and also Instagram. I have not done some of the updates and everything I need to do for Piranesi and stuff, so just keep an eye out for those. You can get my thoughts on what I think in a verbal form, and I would be grateful if you come over and give me a like, a thumbs up, or a follow on any of those social platforms. But for now, I'm going to get back to my diamond painting and do some more of that and get another section sorted. I managed to squeeze in this video, and of course I will see you all next week. So before you go, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and also if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, and make sure that you go and check out all of the KuKi co-hosts that are on the in the description down below, because you're going to meet some absolutely fantastic people that have some fantastic ideas for content and all the things, and I'm sure you're going to start to see a week one's vlogs coming out from everybody, so be sure to go and check that out. And of course, I will catch you all in the next video, and don't forget, keep turning those pages, and I'll see you then. Bye.